Tonight on the Black Channel, we're going to be discussing about the root of white supremacy here. White supremacy requires funding. White supremacy requires financing. And the biggest beneficiary has been Elon Musk, who has been trawling for this until the point that now, at least for a brief time, the companies he had altogether were valued at over $1 trillion, allowing some people to call him a trillionaire. It's debatable whether or not that's legitimate or not. It's debatable, but for the purposes of this discussion, we'll go ahead and go along with that. So what are the lessons you're learning from in here? First of all, the white supremacy requires funding. That's the first thing. It doesn't survive as a charity. It requires funding, and a lot of it. Next thing is that white supremacy pays it forward. They don't just sit on the money. They don't just get some money and go rack up some cars or go set their baby mamas up, which Elon Musk has done all the above. He's got mega yachts. He's got expensive cars. He's got multiple homes in multiple countries. He's got baby mamas all over the place. What? I mean, he's in competition with Future and Stephon Diggs at this point, and he's winning. But on top of all that, he makes sure he keeps some money kicked back, holds some money back so that he can finance white supremacy directly. And the killing part about all this is that the big shame of it is it's your tax dollars at work. He didn't get there because he's smart. It damn sure wasn't that. He didn't get there because he's capable. He didn't get there because he's some genius. Like all the rest of them, white supremacy takes your tax dollars out of your pocket and hands it directly over to white supremacists to fund their ventures and keep funding them. And not a little bit, I mean fund them to gargantuan degrees from the very beginning. They don't start from the bottom with thousands of dollars. White supremacy hands them hundreds of millions from day one. So essentially, they're a major corporation starting on day one. They don't start as a small business that becomes a major corporation. They start as a major corporation that becomes a gargantuan corporation. You want to talk about having a head start. So what we're going to do here, I'm actually going to take this in a slightly reverse order from the directions that I want to take it into. So what we're going to do is we're going to start actually from more recent, and then we'll go get a little granular with it. What I want to do is first I want to show you from Fortune magazine. From Fortune magazine, the true genius of Elon Musk is his subsidy harvesting strategy. Political science professor says here that Musk has reportedly collected at least $38 billion in funding through government contracts, loans, subsidies, and tax credits that go as far back as 20 years, according to a recent Washington Post analysis. His electric car maker, Tesla, has collected $11.4 billion in regulatory credits per the Washington Post, but most of the funds via government contracts from NASA and the Department of Defense are to his rocket maker, SpaceX. A separate ABC News analysis found SpaceX and Tesla were granted at least $18 billion in federal contracts in the past decade. And by the way, folks, this has been eclipsed. So that's why I'm starting from here, because in reality, these numbers are not complete and thorough. Some of the government money came at crucial times for his companies. In one instance, it was $465 million loan from the Energy Department to Tesla that Musk was reportedly personally involved in securing. He had daily meetings with Tesla executives and spent hours with the loan officer. But when the loan went through, Tesla was missing a certification it needed to qualify. Well, how did it go through then? So Musk reportedly went directly to the administrator, you mean to the EPA or the Energy Department, around Christmas time to get it done. Hey, y'all, for any of you been looking for government contracts, don't you wish you could go directly to the administrator? Elon Musk could. Ain't white supremacy grand? You try going directly to the administrator of the Energy Department. You try it. See if you can even get close. See if they'll answer your emails. Quote, Tesla would not have survived without the loan, the former Tesla employee told the Washington Post. It was a critical loan at a critical time. Tesla benefited from a federal tax credit of up to $7,500 for those who buy its electric cars too. And if it's killed, which it was, it could hurt Tesla. Oh, don't worry. He's got himself so deep in with the government that he was ready for that. I'll be explaining about that here shortly. This article from CNN, how much of Musk's wealth comes from government help? Virtually all of it. This is dated from yesterday. And it's talking about the fact that the SpaceX IPO went up and whatnot. Wall Street banks all over the place helping out with that. He got friends who work at the Wall Street banks, at Goldman Sachs and others, direct friends. So yeah, you try getting that connected and see how it works. The federal government awarded SpaceX more than $500 million worth of grants in its early years. And that $500 million is just a fraction of what Tesla received from government grants, loans, contracts, and regulatory policies. So $500 million in the early years. You don't know a single black business enterprise person who has ever been cut a check from the federal government for $500 million. And that was back when $500 million was real money. You have no equivalent story that you can name from a single black person anywhere that ever got anything even remotely close to this. Let's hear it for how America treats its Afrikaners. The Afrikaner invaders, make sure they're papered up, make sure they have direct government access. You sitting up here paying folk to make you proposals and pitches, and meanwhile, he's got direct access. Let's hear it for the Afrikaner. That's not to say SpaceX's success and Tesla's roughly $1.5 trillion valuation are entirely due to federal spending, but both companies teetered as startups before receiving taxpayer subsidies. What the hell happened to pull yourself up by your bootstraps? Don't be begging. What you mean, reparations? What you begging for? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Yeah, why is it none of them ever said that to him? And they're not saying it to him today. The question of how Musk's $1 trillion net worth comes from the government is not as simple as it sounds. By some measures, only a small portion of his wealth is thanks to taxpayers. Lie. But his companies have received only tens of billions from government contracts and programs. Only. I mean, I only got 30 or 40 billion dollars. That's all I got. That's all they gave me. I built this. They only gave me 30 or 40 billion dollars, but I built this myself. I mean, yeah, they gave me 30 or 40 billion, but what do you expect me to do with 30 or 40 billion dollars? But it's not just the dollar amount that matters, it's when it was received. SpaceX's first major windfall was a $278 million grant from NASA in 2006. Damn! To develop the Falcon rocket system and Dragon space capsule. So understand what you're seeing here, folks. There was no Falcon rocket system. There was no Dragon space capsule. This was money that they received as a contract to develop these systems. The same way that Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, and these other companies bid to get contracts to develop aircraft, develop fighter jets, develop helicopters, develop tanks, develop assault vehicles, military hardware. So they get money not for something that they've made, but they get money to a contract to develop these things. So essentially they're getting a contract to fund their business. You don't have a product, we'll pay you to make the product. Once again, you don't know a single black person who this is the kind of contract they got. a contract to go make us something. And in this case, you can't even say that these are established companies because it wasn't like they've made a rocket already. So it's not like they were supplying rockets already. So they were getting money to develop a rocket. Now, how many of us, if we got $250 million, couldn't have used that money to hire a bunch of rocket scientists to be able to develop a rocket? Who here couldn't do that? All you're going to do is take the money and go recruit them. So that's what it was really for. The space shuttle program was ending, and the U.S. needed a new way to get astronauts and cargo to the International Space Station. It was the first of more than $500 million in grants SpaceX would receive, according to data from PitchBook, which tracks the valuation of private companies. $500 million. People, how in the hell do you fail when you're given a $500 million head start? That's not hyperbole. That's white supremacy. How the hell do you fail when you're given a $500 million head start? How is that possible to fail? Answer, it isn't. That's the whole point. From your tax dollars, you're told that you're lazy. You're told that you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Elon Musk, oh, take this $500 million here. We figure you're good for it. You're a good hard worker. He's just getting started. He hasn't produced anything. I can see it in his eye. Quote, that was about half of their capital that they raised to that point. That was about half of their capital that they raised to that point. People, let me explain to you how this works. When you're running a business, you might have some seed capital, but once you start letting folks know that you are in line to get $200 or $300 million in funding from the government, more money starts coming in. That's the way that works. Once you start showing proof of concept, once you start showing viability, once you start showing the federal government's going to put in hundreds of millions of dollars, the private sector is now lining up to give you more money. So they understand what that signal is that sends to the markets. If you can get hundreds of millions of dollars in government funding, that's it. You're off to the races. And they know it. So that's why these sentences can be a little misleading. He wanted that government contract to be that big because that basically opens up the floodgates to all funding, both private and public, which is the point. Remember, you can go take that government contract and go to Goldman Sachs or somebody else and let them know, hey, this is what I've got right here. This is an asset right here. Now they include that in your valuation, what they want to loan. Oh, here we go. Because they know once you get started, there will be more. Once you're mobbed up in the process, if you're white, there will be more. Now, if you're black, you ain't going to get in. Or if you do get in, you're living up day by day. It's touch and go. But they know for these folk right here, it's like, oh, no. Once he's plugged in, that's it. You're part of you're part of the government grift of stealing from taxpayers to fund white supremacy. You're basically subsidized white supremacy. And while NASA has enjoyed the benefits of SpaceX's success with dozens of humans ferried to the space station aboard the company's rockets, it didn't benefit like those private investors. Quote, the people who put in the other half of the capital from that era are about to be made multi-billionaires. So let me get this straight. Half the money came from taxpayers. However, Elon Musk and his private folk who put in their little pennies, who could not have survived without this, they're going to be the only ones reaping the real profits. But they're telling you that you're lazy, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, quit begging, stop expecting the government to give you everything. That's what they're telling you. Stop expecting the government to give you everything. What in the hell is this then? And the support from NASA didn't stop with the grants. Musk has acknowledged the company was almost out of cash at the end of 2008 when it got critical, and then unprecedented $1.6 billion contract from the American Space Agency. Now, this is really kind of an update because we've covered this before. The company almost ran out of money before. That and Tesla, by the way. So, yeah, he's always been surviving on government money. The check he waiting on in the mail is from the government, not from profits, not from vendors, not from customers. The check he has always been waiting on in the mail is from the government, from us. And then he lies to clowns on TV because they go along with it, acting like he's getting it in profits from somewhere else. No, he's getting it from the government. He's sitting by the mailbox waiting for that check to show up so that he can go pay all the debts that he's racked up. Oh, don't worry. We're going to get into that here in just a few moments. How you can use that government money for the valuation of your company and then go use it to pay off other debts and things. Don't worry. We're going to come into that in just a moment because of what happened with SpaceX. The fact is that we could not have started SpaceX, nor could we have reached this point without the help of NASA. Musk said in 2012. Who was president back in 2012?
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
By the way, who was president back in 2012? Oh, yes, everybody's favorite Kenyan tether. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Well, it all makes sense now, doesn't it? The black face of white supremacy. All makes total sense now, doesn't it? Regulations kept Tesla going. By comparison, Tesla has received relatively modest government contracts in the past. Are you... Fellas, stop it. But it got a lot of help getting started, critical help. In January 2010, Tesla had sold less than 2,000 cars in its entire history. Virtually all of them electric oddballs based on sports cars from Lotus, a relatively obscure British company. Let me explain that very, very quickly here. For those of you who may not be aware of how this works, basically car manufacturers may source things and you think they make their own engines. In most cases they do, in some cases they don't. Aston Martin, for example, they started making some of their own engines, but up until relatively recently they were sourcing their engines from Mercedes. So when they first started Tesla, they basically were taking the chassis and the bodies of the Lotus car, and that's what they were using to put their battery packs in. So they were just taking the Lotus and then wiring it up for their battery packs as opposed to internal combustion engines. So they weren't really building the chassis and whatnot. They just got those, put the battery stuff in it, and away we went. And that was enough for them to get California and other states to sit up here and say, well, why shall? Let's go ahead and give you hundreds of millions of dollars in financing and subsidies. Let's build out an electric car charging network for you by taking these Lotus cars and basically removing the innards of them, and okay, we'll take it from there. Then Tesla received a $465 million low-interest loan from the Department of Energy months before its initial public offering. People, if you got almost $500 million, how could you not survive as a car company? How could you not make it as a car company? If I handed you $500 million, of course you're going to be a viable car company. That's a huge head start. You didn't have to work your way up. Okay, but here's the killing part. This came from our tax dollars. He didn't have to work to earn this. They're telling you that you need to prove it. You need to get your money together, get your savings together, get your credit report together, and you need to make money year over year and prove your viability and go to the private sector. And if you can't get the private sector to support you, well, then you just shouldn't be there. Okay, well, excuse me. Department of Energy, that's not the private sector. That's my damn tax dollars. Get your hands out my pockets. And yet no one's giving him the conversation about get your hands out of my pockets. to the tune of $500 million, people. That's not earning it. That's being given it. And not a little bit either. You're being given huge amounts. You're not being given small business money. You're being given major corporation money. So you didn't start out as a small business. You started out as a major corporation. That's the white supremacist head start. With the loan, the company developed the Tesla Model S sedan, its first major success. Tesla paid back the loan early through proceeds from an additional sale of stock in 2013. A $7,500 tax credit for EV buyers allowed the company and other automakers to sell American-made EVs at a higher price than the market might have otherwise allowed. Government subsidies. Everybody was in on it from California to Congress. Because they're not mentioning about the building out of the electric charging stations, which is what really made Tesla viable, because everybody was asking, well, you got an electric car, but what good is that if you can't recharge it? The state, that's what really made them viable. So we haven't mentioned about how the state basically went into business with Tesla, not just funding them, but we are going into business with you. While they sit up here and tell you what you can't get and what you can't have. Stop begging for a handout. Tesla buyers received federal tax credits worth an estimated $3.4 billion before the perk ended in 2019. Tesla then cut prices. They then cut prices to maintain demand. Oh, so you're overcharging. Given how much it had to cut prices, the tax credit likely allowed Tesla to bring in more than $1 billion on cars sold in America than it could have without the tax credit. The tax credit was restored in 2023 as part of the Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act. But Republicans in Congress and the Trump administration ended the credit across the industry on September 30th, 2025. But Tesla's most significant financial support was not from tax credits for EV buyers. It was from a government program to reduce carbon emissions across the automotive industry. I disagree with that. They are not touching on the building out of the charging stations, people. The building out of those charging stations is what made Tesla and electric cars viable. The federal government saying, we like your idea, so we're going to start requiring taxpayers to invest in making your idea viable. Now, we should be calling that DEI white. What? Why are we not calling this DE white? You're requiring people to invest in his idea. Okay, well, I don't like his idea. Well, we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. That sounds like DE white to me. That's what that sounds like. In any case, under this emissions credits thing, just basically all the other car manufacturers who used internal combustion engines, they basically have been paying Tesla all this time to buy credits from them so they can meet the government regulations. And do not be fooled. All these companies like these regulations. Ford, Tesla, Ford, Toyota, Honda, Audi, Volkswagen. They love all these regulations, people. They're the ones who lobby to get these regulations. Then they go around trying to fool you into thinking these are hardships on them. No, they're not. They deliberately engineer these regulations because that makes it difficult, if not impossible, to have more competition. The price of building a modern car automotive plant, that price right there is big. But when you start including everything you have to do to meet all of the quote unquote government regulations that all these car manufacturers have been part and parcel, hand in hand, making sure the government makes, that makes it more challenging for a startup to get started. Because now your engineers have to take all those things into account before they can start making your car. If you want to start your own car company, just complying with the government regulations for emissions and other things, that alone serves as a barrier to entry for any aspiring car company. That's why your legacy car companies all love government regulations. So whether you're talking about government kill switches, surveillance technology, self-driving technology where they're blocking the damn streets, it's the legacy car companies are the ones pushing these regulations. So do not be deceived about that. Don't let any clowns on Fox News deceive you. The legacy car companies are one of the biggest factor in pushing these things, because they serve as barriers to entry to you if you ever thought about starting your own car company. Now, that doesn't mean that it would be impossible, but what it does do is, hey, how many new car companies have you all seen in the last 30 years? Okay, I'll rest my case. There have been more of them that have gone out of business than have gone into business, or that have remained viable. There are more that have gone out of business than have remained viable. Lucid's one of the only ones I can think of, and they had to get all of their money from the Saudis, the sovereign wealth fund. So, yeah. Those credit sales accounted for nearly 25% of the company's revenue in 2008 and 10% of its revenue throughout the next 5 years. So in other words, this was just direct money going into their pockets. Just directly going into their pockets. Between 2008 and 2019, sales of regulatory credits generated more than $2 billion for the company. Tesla might have died without those funds, a fact not lost on Elon himself. In a tweet in 2020, Musk admitted that Tesla was nearly forced to file for bankruptcy as recently as 2019. Some genius. Folks, so after all of those billions of dollars that he got, after all of those $1 billion that he received, he still couldn't keep the company going. Think about that for a few moments. Even after all of that, even after being directly plugged in, the genius, the autistic asshat, still was going into bankruptcy. Even with all that help. To anybody stupid enough to try to sit up here and pretend to yourself that he was some kind of genius about anything. Even after all that, yeah, he was still getting ready to go bankrupt 5-6 years ago. Still. That's after getting the world's biggest head start. That was after getting it. Okay. In the chat room, Tayon J. Cox. I'm so glad you said that right there. Let's go ahead and get you up on Zoom. I don't want anybody else there. I'm going to go ahead and open up the Zoom here so Tayon can go ahead and speak to us. He can let us know where the hating's coming from. So let's go ahead and get him on up here for us. I don't want anybody else calling in, so this is not open. If anybody else calls in, I'll just block you. Well, we're just going to keep this open for him because we do believe in affirmative action for Musk supporters. So they claim they don't like it, but we'll give affirmative action for Musk supporters. So only Tayon, anybody else who tries to and whatnot, just understand you'll be blocked if you do. So open line only for Musk supporters. Just for them. In a tweet in 2020, Musk admitted that Tesla was nearly forced to file for bankruptcy as recently as 2019, even after it survived the bankruptcy scare. It wasn't until 2021 that Tesla was finally able to post a profit without the help of government sales. People, so what they're telling you is basically 2 decades later, Elon Musk was supported by taxpayer money basically for 2 decades. And we're talking to the tune of billions of dollars. 2 decades. How the hell do you possibly, quote, fail when you are essentially an office of the government? At least on the financing side. You're basically a government agency for 2 decades. Why is it we're not having a conversation with him about, by the way, you lazy Afrikaner racist bastard? Let's talk about your lowlife, all these baby mamas you got living off. Could you all imagine if Future was getting taxpayer money, if Stephon Diggs was getting taxpayer money, and then you see Cardi B and the rest of these chicks showing up pregnant and he's getting them penthouses? Not efficiency apartments in Florida. If they were buying penthouses for their baby mamas in New York, in the middle of Manhattan, could you imagine what the outcry would be from Fox Racist News and Megan Ku Klux Kelly and the rest of them? Can you imagine what they would be saying if it were black men putting their baby mamas in penthouses for 2 decades getting money from the federal government? Well, such a thing could never occur. They would be yelling welfare kings. They'd be yelling welfare kings, and Congress would have been stepped in and cut the money off. So you never could have gotten this far along. Congress would have immediately convened together. This meeting is in session here to reinforce white supremacy. It would have been that. Since 2019, sales of regulatory credits have brought in another $12.3 billion. Damn! Folks, that's since 2019. $12 billion. So he's basically subsidized by not just the government, but other companies. With all that money falling pretty much directly to the bottom line. That means profit. That credit revenue is likely to dry up in the future, though, as Republicans in Congress have essentially eliminated the program. Well, it doesn't matter now. It served its purpose. And he's found a new way to milk the government to make up for what Tesla is losing, which is why he was okay losing that, because he came up with a new scheme and a new grift and a new fraud to compensate for what Tesla will no longer be getting from the government. Tesla's value no longer has much to do with its cars. Instead, the company's share price is based on Musk's promise that Tesla will soon offer widespread self-driving robo-taxis and human robots.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no.
Okay, if you believe that garbage, you're as dumb as you look. A promise he has long sought to deliver, but to little avail, because it ain't happening. Wall Street's faith in Musk is the main reason his wealth has reached previously unimaginable heights, at least for the moment, as long as his company's share prices remain near where they are. But that faith comes because at the start of his businesses, when he needed financial assistance the most, it was the U.S. government, not Wall Street, that provided the needed help. Isn't it nice to have that kind of access, folk? And by the way, this article is leaving out California and other states that directly invested to build out that charging network that was only to the benefit of Tesla. So if you realize that alone, it's like, oh, no. We're well over $40 billion for a network that your taxpayer dollars subsidized. It turned out, quote, it was definitely good for the government, America, and society that these companies exist, so I don't regret that the government gave him the money, said Gerber, the early Tesla investor who is now a Musk critic. Quote, the mistake the government made is they should have had an equity stake. No, the mistake the government made is that it should be the rules for everybody else. The same rules for everybody else should be the same damn rules that you and Musk should have been under. So this guy is perfectly fine to criticize now that he's gotten his lick. Now that he's gotten his bag, which is what they all do. Once they got their bag, then they say, okay, go ahead and cut off the spigot. Now that we got ours. Now, when they were sitting there feeding at the trough, they weren't complaining. And he wasn't demanding that the government have equity in the company then. Now that he's gotten his bag, now he wants to retroactively seem moral and righteous. Now that Musk is about as popular as herpes, now all of a sudden folks want to sit up here and talk like they're righteous. Lying asses. Far from the only ones. Far from the only ones here. You want to talk about white supremacists getting money directly from the U.S. government and whatnot. The U.S. government directly funding white supremacists. Hello, Peter Thiel.
Damn!
Peter Thiel, this is from years ago. Peter Thiel's Palantir wins role in $823 million government contract. Folks, isn't it amazing that the PayPal mafia already privileged white young males, and the hits just keep on coming? They never have a dry season. Isn't that amazing? They never have a dry season. They come up with cockamamie ideas because let me remind you all, does anyone remember the Boring Company? Does anybody remember Tesla's solar panels? Does anybody remember that flamethrower garbage? They call the website X. Remember, X was supposed to be the everything app back when PayPal started. How'd that go? Elon Musk has had far more failures than anything else. Yeah, Hyperloop, we can go down the list. No, this is not a guy who just is this fertile plain of great ideas. When he starts hitting the ketamine, he's just spinning off the top of the dome. And yet the government shows up. Think about that, folks. Time after time, everything he wants to do, the government doesn't show up with $50,000 or $100,000. They show up with $400 and $600 million. Want to start a car company? Here's $300 million. Want to start a rocket company? Here's $500 million. Think about that for a few moments. You don't have anybody else you can tell these kind of stories about. That the government's showing up not with a couple of $1 million and you don't even have a finished product. They didn't show up with a couple of $1 million. The government is showing up with sums of money that you could use to fund entire segments of the economy. I mean, we're talking about amounts of money that could run whole agencies at the state level. You have departments of education. Hell, the road budgets for a lot of states. In America, $800 million, that's more money than they spend on roads and schools in most U.S. states. Most U.S. states don't have budgets of $800 million. Not for roads and schools. So think about that for a few moments. In most U.S. states, this is more money than they spend on roads and schools. All going to one company. And that's just Palantir. So in case you thought that it was limited to that, by the way, another Afrikaner, Peter Thiel. I'm sure that just one big coincidence, right? One big coincidence, right? All the Afrikaners keep getting steadily funded, not just for a day. They get funded over the course of decades. Not years, people, decades. Decades of continuous, consistent, massive funding. Boy, it's good to be a white supremacist. They make sure they stay papered up, don't they? Yes, indeed. White supremacy has been good to them. It has been good to them to have that kind of thing going on right there, while the rest of you have to earn what the hell you gonna get. You have to earn that, but don't worry, the white supremacists will take care of putting this together. And when they tell the story, they're going to be telling you that they earned it. When they tell the story, they're going to leave out they're going to make it seem like the government, your tax dollars paying to fund them, that was just trivial. That's what they're going to tell you. That was just trivial. Now, there is a story here from the New York Times. You can go look this story up here if you want to. Elon Musk becomes the world's first trillionaire on SpaceX's first day of trading. You can just type in that headline. Folks, there was more chicanery. There was more grifting. There was more outright illegal activity going on with this than we can even name. First of all, Elon Musk basically set the price of the shares. That's the first thing. You have an IPO where instead of the banks being able to do price discovery, you essentially had the prospective CEO telling you this is what the share price is going to be when we open the IPO. You're not supposed to be able to do that. However, we're white and we say so. So, damn rules. Let me go a little bit further. You all remember how everybody was saying that Elon Musk was going to take a bath? Everybody said that Elon Musk was going to lose his ass because he went off and borrowed $40 or $50 billion to purchase Twitter, claiming that he was going to do all kinds of wonderful things. And we all know that, he was not floating. He was flying on ketamine, cocaine, or whatever else he's taking. Because then he immediately tries to go back and say, oh, wait, I didn't mean that. That wasn't what I meant. And then Twitter and them said, nope, you made the announcement. You said you're going to do it. We are now going to sue and demand that you follow through. Remember, he tried to back out after he sobered up. He tried to back out and they said, oh, no. We all going to get paid now. You about to buy it. We don't know if you can keep it. We don't know if it'll bankrupt you, but you about to buy it. And they forced him to go through with the purchase of Twitter. A number of people told themselves, I was never one of them. You'll remember famously, I was never one of them. A number of folks said that this is going to turn out badly for Musk and it'll bankrupt him and he can't get the money for it and the banks are going to take a bath. Man, you don't understand white supremacy. You don't understand it. If you ever thought that for even a second, and there's a number of you who did, you should have learned. For those of you who don't know, what Elon did was he basically rolled Twitter, i.e. X, into XAI, and then has rolled that into SpaceX with this fraudulent assertion that basically this is all one company. So he has taken the trash and mixed it in with the treasure and claims it's all one company now. And in the IPO, there's basically a line in there that says that part of the money raised in the IPO is going to go to pay off the remaining debt purchase for Twitter.
What? Damn!
Don't believe me? Go look it up yourselves. The whole idea of this fraudulent rolling a social media company into a rocket company on paper is so that the proceeds from the IPO in part will be used to pay off the debt that he racked up purchasing Twitter. And of course, the investment banks that helped him to buy Twitter, well, they're right there to help shepherd through this IPO. And of course, the federal government, Elon Musk's best buddy, Donald Trump, that some idiots thought that there was going to be a blood debt beef with last year. And I told everybody, no, it's not going to be. Well, what do you know? The federal government is 2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Nobody's getting in the way. No Securities and Exchange Commission. No investigation. With the stock market, with the stock exchanges, there's no cop on the beat. Just do as you please. Do as you please. And this is where they're at. So if you were ever thinking to yourself or were tempted to think, well, don't worry, that Twitter thing, he's not making any money at it. He won't be able to sustain that. He's sitting on the billions of dollars of debt. Is eventually going to catch up with him? No, he already had the scam in place about how he was going to resolve that too. He already had the scam in place about how he was going to resolve that Twitter purchase. Now, there should be a court or somebody that should have stepped in and stopped this garbage. And yet, nobody is there. Now, if you tried this at the state level, they would have been had the attorney general come and shut you down. If you had tried this. And yet he's doing this in front of the world and they're sitting there marveling. Oh, look at this rogue. Look at this renegade flouting the law. Isn't he amazing? Your so-called business cable TV channels and whatnot, they should be doing wall-to-wall coverage of this crime, and they're not saying anything. Now, if you tried it, it would be a different conversation altogether. If you tried it. And once again, with your tax dollars subsidizing and paying for the whole scam, for the whole grift. A social media website that he was supposed to purchase with his own money, and now he's going to use a rocket company's IPO. The money raised from prospective shareholders for the IPO for a rocket company will in part be diverted to patch him up for that bender, that cocaine binge he was on that night to purchase Twitter. Direct taxpayer subsidy, direct taxpayer payment. Stolen from you and me. Stolen from all of us. And by the way, folks, the grift continues. The grift goes on, like the whispers. The beat goes on, with the grift goes on. When you take a look at these data centers that Elon Musk is building out, right down to the state level, I've talked about this for years ad nauseum. They are sitting up here giving out, at this point, basically billions of dollars for that. But even more, you're getting stuff that money doesn't buy. You see, when you get carte blanche and a blank check to ignore environmental regulations, ignore pollution regulations, ignore any and all limits on water usage, folks, that's beyond just getting tax money. I mean, you're basically being treated like an independent nation state. You don't have a single black person who's treated that way. So when you get asked about, is there white supremacy? When you get asked about that, here's your proof. Here's your evidence. You can't name a single other place that gets something like this. Not even remotely close. You can't name this on a street level. You can't sit up here and open up shop in your damn hometown without dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's. If you don't have the proper permits, you can't remodel your kitchen. If you don't have the proper permits, you can't build an accessory dwelling out in the back of your house. And yet, Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Ellison, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, wow, they can sit up here and disregard all of that. They can build something the size of Manhattan. Permits be damned. You can't build an addition onto your house without all your permits being correct and up to code. You can't do that. They can build stuff the size of Manhattan. You are a public nuisance. If folks are making too loud of music, if their cars are too loud at your club, at your gas station, you're a public nuisance. In Louisiana, they've passed a law. I mean, literally, they made it a law that you can't make complaints about noise from rockets and aircraft in some pathetic, desperate attempt to attract SpaceX, I guess. So if you make too much noise, you are a public nuisance, and we can come shut your business down simply because you are too loud. I want you all to see white supremacy, not just notice, but see it. If your convenience store is too loud, not even your store, if the customers coming to your convenience store are too loud, then you are a public nuisance and you got to go. But they are preemptively making laws in Louisiana to say you can start whole damn rocket ships. That's cool. That's legit. Everybody else just need to shut the hell up and roll with it. Everybody else just got to shut the hell up and roll with it. Data centers making noise, light pollution, chemical pollution, messing up the water. That's not a public nuisance. All legit. No public discourse, no public debate. I mean, they fly through in record time. Gigantic projects. Now, if you want to open a liquor store, there's going to be 6 months or a year of debate, public hearings. Remember that, y'all? You're going to be held up for years with public hearings, public commentary periods. Hey, somebody has filed a dispute. They don't want it built there. Isn't it amazing? These other folks, they're getting gigantic, gargantuan AI centers put up. No public debate, no public hearing. No, doesn't matter if you have a dispute with it or whatever. It flies through. Flies through. You can't build a local dance club as quickly as they've gotten approval to build these AI data centers that make a hell of a lot more noise, hell of a lot more pollution, or a hell of a whole lot more of a nuisance than anything you could possibly try to do. You could never make as much pollution as Elon Musk does with those data centers, even if you tried. Even if you were just a malicious person who wanted to do it, you couldn't accomplish it. You're not physically capable. Yet this was perfectly acceptable. So when we have these conversations about who and what white supremacy is, understand white supremacy has to require direct funding. It cannot survive on its own. It is a leech and a parasite. It cannot survive on its own. It cannot compete. It can't hold up under its own weight. It has to get direct government support. It is a government-private partnership. And yes, I'm pointing out Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, but they're only the tip of the iceberg. They're only the tip of the iceberg. All of these are racist entities, racist endeavors, enterprises, if you will, down the line. And just understand what you're being told not to do. Now, you go try that. See what happens if you try it. See what happens if you go for it. See what happens if you try to exercise that yourself. And also, one more thing, keep in mind the overwhelming silence. The overwhelming amount of silence. Just understand that. They're not saying anything. Where are your so-called mavericks, your so-called media personalities who are unafraid? Where are they? Not a word. Not a word. White supremacy requires funding, but more importantly, the reason that it requires it is so it can pay it forward. That's the part I want you to remember. It needs it so it can pay it forward. They don't just want it for the sake of having it. They want it for the sake of being able to pay it forward. And make sure that they are reinvesting it, because that's what Elon has done. Twitter is nothing less than a white supremacist broadcasting television station 24/7. Case in point here, since the Carmelo Anthony verdict, on my Twitter feed, I'm getting stuff from folk I never heard of, don't know a damn thing about. I've been getting plowed with coons, never heard of them, never seen them, and yet Twitter is bringing them to me. Is Twitter bringing me to these other folk? Is a better question. This is paying it forward taking our taxpayer money and directly investing it in white supremacist propaganda and technocratic propaganda. Directly taking our tax dollars and creating technological propaganda directly, not indirectly, people, is going from your pockets to his propaganda. And now at this point, it's basically free. You all do understand that, don't you? Your tax dollars have basically gone to be used to purchase Twitter, to hand it to a card-carrying Afrikaner white supremacist so that he can set up a open-air white supremacist broadcasting entity 24/7. That's white supremacy paying it forward. That is white supremacy paying it forward. However, you might disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and open the link to the Zoom here in the chat room here for you so that you are more than welcome to go ahead and weigh in and give us a call here. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo, Shy here to Keenan. Thank you very much for your support tonight here, Keenan. We appreciate that. To my man, Mr. Richburg. Thank you very much for your support here, brother. To Cameron, Shy Citizen, Tom Slick, Poetic Justice, One Brother, Willis Addison, Mogul Mays, and everybody else here who's contributed to tonight's program. Thank you very much for your support here as well. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break here, folks. When we come back, we'll see about maybe taking some of your calls here and more. This is the Black Channel.
Be the teacher, knowledge on the block. Got the kids learning, minds open like a lock. Books and skills from the east to the west. Bringing education, yeah, we're simply the best. Classes on fire, brains burning with desire. Innovation driving like a tire through the mire. Math, science, history, we got the whole range. Kids hitting new heights, teachers making a change. Used to be the teacher, stacking up the grades. Future bright shining, no need for no shades. Got the youth thriving, moving up the ladder. Smart and sharp, brains growing fatter. Lessons so lit, yeah, they stay in a blaze. Every mind sharp like a sword in the haze. Mr. B in the house breaking knowledge chains. Education kingpin, we repping the games. Who used to be the teacher?
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And yeah, man, the coonery and buffoonery here that's at work under these circumstances, that's going to be something else we're going to be tackling here in just a few moments. Because believe it or not, it hasn't stopped here yet. And I do have some opinions on some other things here as well, by the way. Let me go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. I got somebody calling on Samsung here on Zoom. Let me see who this is on Samsung here on Zoom. I don't see anybody, so whoever's on Zoom, I can give you 5 seconds. Make sure you have a light turned on or something. I can give you 3 more seconds. Make sure you have a light turned on or something. I can give you 1 more second here. Make sure you have a light turned on or something. Okay, if they're getting ready to try to spring out with their OnlyFans, I'm not interested. Yeah, I'm not really trying to be interested in that. So, folks, when you call up on Zoom, make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on. You won't be shown to YouTube unless you're trolling. As long as you're not trolling, there's no issues there. But when you do call in, make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on just so we don't have any trolling issues. You don't have to agree with anything, everything, or anything that we say here. But if you do call in, the only thing that we do require is make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on just so we know that you're dealing in good faith and that there are no trolling issues. Very, very important to have that. And speaking of dealing in good faith and no trolling, there's also a thing for no cooning. And just understand, there's some folks out there who they get it. They understand. Things are getting lean. Things are getting lean, so they're trying to set themselves up for their next act. Case in point, boy, I'm telling you, this train here never misses a stop. Yeah, when the money starts drying up, when the record sales start drying up, you can try to sit up here and you can try to act like everything's all right if you want to. But then you start tipping your hand. When you start going the Stacey Dash route, when you start doing that, you start acting all weird. When you start doing that, it's like, okay, you're hoping that maybe there's some money in white supremacy to help bail you out. So you start doing really weird stuff, man. You start doing that. So it's I am not surprised nor shocked, of course. Look, this is what you do when you can't make money on sex appeal anymore. Nikki is over 40 now, so the sex appeal thing, that's a young woman's game. That's a young woman's game. The world is ready for the next crop. It's ready for the next Nicki Minaj, not the last one. They're not really looking to grab them 42 or 43-year-old butt cheeks. It's the inflated BBL, gas-infused, gelatin-infused butt cheeks. They're not looking to do that. What? No. So I understand. I ain't mad at you, Nikki. I see what it is. You know, it's AI all over the place. I get it. But just understand, this is the last resort. This is what you got to do when you're taking a look at those record sales and taking a look at those things. Oh, the money is starting to dry up. It's starting to run low. Oh, man, we can't really survive on tours and record sales anymore like we used to. So let's see if we can get a constituency somewhere else. So Nicki Minaj is trying to get it how she live. I ain't mad. She's trying to get that. We all know this arc. We've all seen this arc before. So yeah, when they made their money among black folk, and when you aged out, you've aged out, and now you haven't been able to find a sponsor. You marry the wrong damn people. You know, it's just you got to carry it by yourself. Nobody really wants to be Mrs. Minaj. I mean, Mr. Minaj. Nobody. There's not a fella making 8 figures who's really chomping at the bit to be Mr. Minaj, you know, to take her on trips and things. That guy ain't really out there. That's not it. There might be an obstetrician somewhere. What? You know, there might be a podiatrist somewhere. There might be a podiatrist somewhere that's looking to cupcake Nikki and looking to, you know, put her on his benefits. That can happen. There might be a dentist somewhere who's been sitting back for the last 20 years waiting his turn. That can very easily happen. So that is one thing. But a paid 7-figure, 8-figure nigga, no, he ain't sitting back waiting to follow up behind this act. He's not doing it. It's not happening. Not happening. There might be, you know, look, there may be a salary simp or a pension pimp somewhere. You know, there might be some fella waiting to cash in his whole damn GI Bill. What? Damn! But as far as somebody who's really throwing figures and at the yacht club, it's like, no. Don't worry, she'll be back at Turning Point to see if there's a white trick up in there that she can turn. You all know the play. Chicks like her, I mean, that's where she comes from. She comes from the strip club culture, so she's telling herself, well, don't worry, there's an old white dude up in there who gonna get the trick off. There's got to be an old white dude around here somewhere, CPAC or Turning Point, or so gotta be one out here ready to trick off and give me that Anna Nicole Smith run that I've been waiting on. So I see the play. I see the play. Go and go for it, Nikki. Let's see how it turns out. I'm predicting that it's going to be dry. There might be some dentist down in Coral Gables. There might be a dentist down in Coral Gables. You know, lost his license or whatever. You might have a chance with him. So I suggest you start doing more shows at the Senior Citizens Club. Go ahead and do that. Might be an insurance salesman on the Lower East Side. I've been waiting for you to get a call. On top of that, though, folks, there is a little sports news. Now, we'll touch on this. This may upset some folks when I talk about this, but yes, I am very well aware of this story. Less than a week after Carmelo Anthony is convicted by a all-white jury in Texas by a suspected white supremacist judge, prosecutor, possibly defense attorney. On top of that, James Harden ventured from the industrial Midwestern streets of Cleveland, Ohio, and he came down to the Lone Star State. By the way, I think he said that at one time he wanted to be playing for either the Rockets or the Spurs. So he said the Rockets, the Spurs, or the Heat. So James, I think, is looking to go to a no income tax state. James is looking to see if he can get to a no income tax state. So he wants to go to Florida or Texas. Well, James decided to come venture down to Houston. I guess he figured he'd be safe there. He came to venture down to Houston. He brought a strap with him. I guess he figured right to carry, and then he found out, no, nigga, we got laws. This is the white and I'm say so law. You're only legal, you only have constitutional carry if we say you do. You only have the rights we tell you that you got. So you don't have any rights. Second Amendment, he came down there talking about, what you talking about? I know he's thinking about Kyle Rittenhouse, whatever. Oh, they told him, oh, no. Get your big 7-foot ass in this paddy wagon. You gonna spend the NBA Finals in jail.
And deal with it.
That's what you gonna be. New York gonna be celebrating in the streets. You gonna be celebrating with the bail bondsman. Damn. That's where you gonna be. Get your big ass in the back of this car. And then you ask me, well, Jason, where do you fall on this? Well, I'll be glad to let you know exactly where I fall on this. Because you see, I'm going to just say this here right now. I'm going to say this in no uncertain terms. I do not begrudge any of these people how they made their money or how they spend their money. They are free to make it or spend it however they please. But we can see that you all have done nothing to support the soil. Because what you told yourself is that white supremacy is a Carmelo Anthony, the teenager, not your basketball player, buddy, that's a low-paid nigga problem. You big-paid niggas, well, you got enough money. White supremacy ain't an issue for you. And as I just told you all last night and earlier this week, everybody talks that bull jive until the blue lights start flashing behind them. And then next thing you know, oh, why damn, James, your number came up tonight. Your number came up tonight, James. Yeah, you thought being an NBA player and you got some money in the bank, you told yourself that wasn't going to be an issue. And then I'll be damned. You looked up here. Next thing you know, you sitting in the back of the paddy wagon. You're like, what are the odds that can happen to me? Pretty damn good. So I got to tell y'all, for all of these athletes who have and let's be clear, I'm going to sidetrack for just a minute. My basketball heads, don't get too hyped. Don't get too hyped. This is not about to turn into the sports show. However, if I tell any lies, I want you to stop me. Now, I don't follow sports like that. I don't. I do not. However, there are certain athletes over the course of the last decade and a half who have made a name for themselves for jumping from one team to another, bag chasing. So I think we can all, you don't have to be a diehard basketball fan to be aware that there are certain athletes over the last decade, 2 decades, they've made a name for themselves, basically having their agents on speed dial, bag chasing, jumping from one team to another. There are certain ones who've done that. And I ain't mad at them. I'm not mad. But I see it. LeBron James say, I got to get this bag. I ain't mad at you. Shaquille O'Neal, I got to grab it. Kevin Durant, give me more, give me more. James Harden. They like their short-term contracts. They get a bunch of money there. The next thing you know, I ain't happy. Let me go somewhere else. So, I mean, the list is long. I'm not mad at a single one of them. Not a one. Folks, I'm telling you, these are dudes getting $20, $30, $40 million a year. Per year. And yet, we the only damn soldiers in the streets. So it's going to be hard for me to sit up here and start talking about injustice when I'm taking a look at these fellas and I don't see where they done kicked nothing in the kitty. I don't see where they done put no paper on the table to fight the good fight. And they've got the leeway to do it. Folks, these are not young men. Let me explain something to you. These are not young men who are wondering what could have been. Do you understand that? I'm not asking them to give up their NBA aspirations. Nigga, you've been there for 2 decades. Y'all got championship rings. You've done everything you possibly can do. You're at the end of your careers, not the beginning. And what you're showing is you ain't with us. So when the man show up and blow them lights on behind you, and you see him tapping the gun on his hip, and you start asking yourself if you're about to become a hashtag on Twitter, I find it hard for me to scrounge together sympathy on account of the fact that I ain't seen you out here with the soldiers. I haven't seen any of you put nothing in here. You got nothing to. What the hell do you have to lose? You're sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars. You got more money than everybody in the damn stadium put together, and you're doing nothing. Not even to support helping your damn self, because you tell yourself you'll call your lawyers and get out of it. That doesn't change the fact that your big, tall, lanky ass can get checked at any time by any random white supremacist on the street.
And deal with it, nigga.
Any random white supremacist on the street is deputized and can walk up to you and challenge you, and that's the damn end of that. They can have the great big ass broom beard on your faces and whatnot and sell your merchandise, and any random white supremacist can walk up to you, and all of that means nothing. They can neutralize all the value of that sitting right there on a curbside. Any random street, any random curbside. And we're looking around to see where in the hell you put some investment. Elon Musk is kicking something back. Peter Thiel is kicking something back. Alex Karp, Sam Altman, kicking something back. 300 overpaid niggas ain't kick nothing back. Then the man come for you. Then the man come for you. He was driving around Houston. I know what he was telling himself. What are the chances that they could see me? What are the chances that I could be seen? I mean, I'm just tiptoeing into town. What are the realistic chances that they could see me or find out? What are the realistic chances that of all these hundreds of people on this freeway, on this street, on this thoroughfare, that they could pull me over? I mean, it's not like you can just look around and see I'm in the car. It's not like I got a spotlight on me. What are the realistic chances that out of all these people, they'll be able to single me out? I'm not drinking. I'm not smoking. I'm not doing anything tremendous. I'm not doing nothing out of line. I'm wondering, folks. I'm wondering, what was he driving? Let me go ahead and show y'all something right quick. This is from ESPN. This is from the article here. This is from ESPN, from Brian Winders. Cleveland Cavaliers guard James Harden was arrested early Saturday morning in Houston and has been charged with a misdemeanor unlawful carrying of a weapon. According to Harris County court records, Harden was taken into custody at 3:41 a.m.
Damn!
Yeah, nigga, they were looking for you driving while black. They were looking for your big ass. When a handgun was observed on the seat of a car he owns, the gun was not holstered and was in plain view according to records. Now, folks, do you all understand what the real issue here is? I'm going to come back to this in just a moment for those of you who don't understand why that sentence right there is critical and key. And it's the reason that he shouldn't have been arrested, but he was. So he shouldn't have been arrested, yet he ended up still being arrested. Harden was booked at 4:57 a.m., so over an hour later, released after paying a $100 bond. His arraignment is scheduled for June 22nd. According to the clerk's office website, Harden is listed as a Houston resident in court documents. The Cleveland Cavaliers are aware of the arrest situation, blah, 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 blah. Harden is potentially going to be a free agent at the end of the month. He has a $42 million player option decision he must make by June 29th, but only, folks, do you hear that? Only $13.3 million is guaranteed. I know a bunch of folk in here right now, y'all would sit up here and bury the whole damn family for half that amount. And he's talking about only 13. Y'all like, look here, I'll take out the whole damn block for only 6. What? What you need done for only $6 million? He talking about only $13 million is guaranteed. I know a bunch of y'all would do some scandalous stuff for only 6. Some of y'all would do it for less than that, like Jason Hill. Only 2 will hold me. I'll take 10%. Only $2 million, done. I ain't even told you what it is yet. Don't matter. Done. It has been expected that Harden would opt out of the contract and sign a new multi-year deal to remain in Cleveland, where he was traded in February. Harden is 36, averaged 19 points, 5 assists. Folks, he's not at the beginning of his career. He's not broke. He's made tons of money. And like the rest of them is sitting back saying, oh, well, that's y'all's issue over there. Yeah, you clown ass niggas always do that. It's our issue right up until they show up behind you. Now it's your issue. Now it's yours. Welcome to the humiliation, butt-breaking ritual of white supremacy. Now, I want to go back to this part of the article here where it said the gun was not holstered and was in plain view according to the records. So here's the thing. You can't, this is something that you get taught when you're in the transportation business or anything like that. You can have a weapon in your car, but you don't want to be charged with having a concealed weapon because, the police ask you, do you have any guns in the car, any guns or any drugs and stuff? Remember, it's legal for the police to lie to you, but it's not legal for you to lie to the police.
Nigga, what?
Remember that. The reason that they ask you those questions, folks, the reason you want to be silent is because it's legal for the police to lie to you. It's legal for the police to try to trick you. It is not legal for you to deceive police. It's not legal for you to lie to them. Now, you can be quiet, but you can't make a false statement to them. They can lie to you all evening. Not just in the interrogation room, on the curbside, whether they can lie to you all damn night. From the moment they pull up, they are not required to be truthful to you at all. You, however, are required by law to tell them the truth. If you speak to them, it's got to be the truth. Otherwise, you have committed a crime, not an offense, a crime. So you see, when they ask you if you have any weapons, if you respond, it has to be a truthful statement. If you're in a situation where you're in a place where you cannot have a concealed weapon, you have not broken the concealed weapon law if the weapon is in plain view. They can't claim that the weapon is concealed if it's sitting on, what our attorneys told us back in the day is, if it's sitting on the passenger seat or if it's sitting on the dashboard, they would tell you put it on the passenger side. But if it's in plain view, no one can claim that you have a concealed weapon. Now, of course, that comes with caveats. I am not telling anybody here that you need to put a weapon in plain sight because Philando Castile. I'm not telling any of you that's what you're supposed to do because just understand, oh, I saw a gun. It was on the dashboard. It was on the dashboard on the other side of the car. He was reaching for it. He had his arms out the driver's side window. The gun was on the passenger side dashboard. He was reaching for it. It looked like a big black shadow. Like Lord of the Rings from Mordor. It'll be that. So, yeah. So, technically speaking here, if it's in plain view, of course, I'm not telling you all this is not legal advice whatsoever. However, reading this, I know, and especially in the state of Texas, anybody else talking about their state, that's different. In the state of Texas or in the Deep South, especially, I understand what this was for, and this was so that he could not be accused of having a concealed weapon, because that would be the real issue, is if the weapon were concealed. So in this case, apparently he doesn't have a concealed carry permit. Too busy paying for weed, I guess. What? Multimillionaires, you don't have a concealed carry permit? Okay. All right. So he had the weapon in plain view so as to not violate the concealed weapon law. Well, guess what? Thank you for not violating the concealed weapon law. You have now violated the unlawful carrying of a weapon law. What? Did y'all get that? So if I hide the weapon, you're going to say I'm going to be arrested for concealing it. I put the weapon in plain sight and you say it's illegal for me to carry it. They got him for unlawful carrying of a weapon. If James were a felon, he wouldn't be out right now. So what exactly is the violation? If he were a felon in possession of a firearm, he wouldn't be out right now, folks. So we know that that's not the case. We know that he's not a felon in possession of a firearm. So what exactly is the offense here? If he's not a felon, he has a firearm, you don't need a permit, constitutional carry, all this stuff. What is the illegal aspect of it? The weapon wasn't concealed. He's not a felon. He doesn't really need a permit, unless you're going to say he does. So what is the offense? What exactly is the offense here? Now, here's the thing, by the way, I don't see anything explaining why he got pulled over in the first place. Why did he get pulled over in the first place? Now, it says that he was arrested. It doesn't say that, they didn't say he was pulled over. It says that he was arrested. So, was he standing by his car? What the hell was going on? How did they see in his car if he wasn't driving? Was he driving? What exactly was if he wasn't in the car with the gun, you also, I don't know the circumstances here, but if he wasn't in the car with the gun, what in the hell was the pretext of detaining him? What the hell's going on? What's going on is your black ass telling yourself that you run Houston. I live here in Houston. Nigga, you are a legal alien, which I told you all over 2 decades ago. We are not, as black people, we are not citizens. We are legal aliens. What he found out was they reaffirmed and confirmed his legal alien status. Well, the Constitution does not apply to you. No, you thought that Carmelo Anthony in that courtroom didn't have his constitutional rights affirmed. And we about to show you in the same boat. So he found out, he got it reaffirmed to him that he's a legal alien, is what happened there. And I got to say here, before I can come running to anybody's defense, before I can put on the hair shirt, before I can express any sympathy, I got to say, James, back up for a moment. How much work have you put in with the soldiers? I bet you're wishing now that you were a little more active with the prosecuting attorneys and who chooses the police chief and the judges. I bet you're wishing you were a little more active now. But you got better things to do. Okay, well, sit your ass in this jail cell this weekend. And yeah, there you go. The police department said you don't have anything better to do. So before I have any sympathy for anybody, y'all, paperwork check, nigga. Paperwork check. How much work you done put in? Where you standing with the soldiers? How much you done kicked up and kicked in? How much have you paid forward? Because you niggas, I'm talking about, they will gladly go pay some lawyers a couple of $1 million to deal with their baby mamas and hoes and all their other garbage they get into. When stuff like this happens, it's like, okay, so it's worth it for you for that, but it's not worth it for you to prevent it? How about preventing this garbage in the first place? Nigga, you got a $40 million, this is your latest $40 million contract. Do you all understand that? We talking about fellas getting 10, 20, $40 million a year. Please tell me, how would he miss $2 million, $4 million? And that's just one guy. And it's not being unreasonable. Dude, you're 36 damn years old. You've missed a step. You've lost a step or two. No one's really on your ass for another championship. No one's asking you to give up your NBA career. You had your NBA career. You've already had it. You already lived the damn dream. No one's asking you to give it up. You already got it. So no one's asking you to shortchange anything. It'd be one thing if you were 21 years old or 26. You're 36. It'd be one thing if you were in a rookie contract. But you're not. You've already gotten the big money. You've already jumped through a half a dozen teams. You already got your equity out of the game, and then some at the very highest levels. What more do you want at this point except a coon and buffoon? And at that point, when I hear these things, I'm like, you know what? Let the man come and get you. I'm not going to play that game. You're a free agent. You're on your own. Okay, then those are your problems. Don't call us. Don't look for sympathy. Don't expect to march and protest. No, I'm not going to tweet talking about injustice. No, I only talk about injustice for the people on our side. And so far as I can tell, that ain't where you're standing. You or any of the rest of them. That's not where y'all are standing. You got to earn the right to do that. And you made it very clear that, you don't really give a damn what's going on. Well, you know what? Go puff your weed, go drink your drink, go hang out with them sluts and hoes, and get by however you get by. But take this as your wake-up call, nigga. They watching you. They're watching you. And they saw a chance to bring you down a peg or two. And what they showed you is, yeah, even in Houston, nigga, you ain't no legend. You ain't no star. You're not untouchable. We watching your ass. And we'll slap them cuffs on your big lanky ass just like anybody else. As a matter of fact, we're going to follow you around to see if we can find something. From the lowest crackhead to the highest paid athlete. We're going to follow you around till we find something. It'll be 10 white dudes in the parking lot of the game with guns on their passenger seats, guns in the back of their pickup trucks, shotguns in the rear view window of their pickup trucks. They'll walk past all of them and then come grab your ass, knock the basketball out your damn hand, grab you by your scruffy beard, throw you across this damn hood and say, yeah, you spend the night with us. So you can go ahead and believe that if you want to. They're showing you what's going on, and they're also letting you know, by the way, nigga, we watching you. Now he knows, like, okay, now he got, isn't that something, man? You're going to sit up here and be a $40 million, $100 million, $200 million man, and you got to walk on pins and needles. You got to walk on eggshells. You're one of the most well-known people on the planet, and you have to walk on eggshells. In quote-unquote your own city, at least the one you reside in this year. You got to walk on eggshells. Meanwhile, your man Elon Musk, he can smoke weed on Joe Rogan. Ain't nobody indicted him. Oh, y'all thought I forgot. Damn! Did you all forget that aspect of it? He is on video smoking weed there. By the way, and one more again, where does Joe Rogan do his program out of? What? Damn! Damn! Oh, yeah, one more again. Where does Joe Rogan do his program out of? Okay. So when they sit up there at Joe Rogan's place on video getting blunted out, by the way, where y'all at one more again? Where does he do that show, his show out of again? I know he moved from California. Where'd Joe Rogan move to after he left California? Where'd he move to? Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Trying to remember where Joe Rogan moved to when he left California. He made a big show of it. He made a bunch of announcements. And it slips my mind. Got something to do with James Harden and where he's at, and Elon Musk and where he is. It's something that I can't quite put my finger on it. Oh, yeah, Texas. Oh, damn, I'll be damned. You mean when they just came and jacked up old James Harry Harden? Okay. Yeah, they sitting there right with Joe Rogan. I mean, lighting up the blunts. Folks, that's called evidence. Ain't nobody kicking in Joe Rogan's door. Nobody's kicking in the door. Nobody's doing none of that. None of that. You try that and see what happens. Yeah, you sit up here and tell your ass, well, I know these people, I'm friends with them. Yeah, Joe is going home. You going to jail. Joe is going home. You're going to jail. And that's how that's going to be. So for you fellas out there who got way more resources than the rest of us. Way more. Not a little more. Way more than the rest of us. And you haven't lifted a damn finger to give us more lawyers, judges, and it would not affect you at all. You actually have the ability to do it, and you haven't lifted a finger. It's like, okay, when the folk come and get you, we just gonna sit there. Since you sat there and stared at us all stupid looking when they were coming at us, okay, they coming for you. We just gonna sit there and stare. No, I'm not defending anything. I see it. I'm not condoning it. I'm not cheering for it. I'm just saying, by the way, I'm keeping his energy. For all these folk out there, that's their energy. I'm keeping his energy. This is how he responds to that when he sees the rest of us. Okay, well, this is how I'm responding the same way he does. That's how we do that. That's how we do that. Let me go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. Let me see if we can get one brother up here on Zoom for me here. One brother, what's on your mind?
B1, a good evening, sir. I just had two questions for you. On the subject of James Harden, I just wonder your thoughts on how do these people manage to stay off code, particularly with peers like you just recently interviewed Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. How, in whether it be other sports like a Kaepernick, how is it that these people manage to stay off code like this?
Well, in the case of Ralph and Kaepernick, remember that was basically the beginning of their careers. Basically, these other folk, this is what they came there for. I mean, they came there for wine, woman, and song. They came. Their identity is as ball players. They don't really have a personality outside of it. I need you all to know that athletes, it's not what Brittany Renner tells you. Speak about brainless individuals. It's not what she tells you. Most athletes, folks, I mean, they couldn't hold a conversation with a Dixie cup. These are not brain trusts. They're not geniuses. All they can talk about is shop. They're basically drilled in and dialed in on that. That's what they do. They're basically like human robots whose only real function or interest is in their game. Sex is a biological thing. It's a biological imperative. So it's not something that you're interested in. It's just something that you do. Well, everybody does that. The issue is, can you find anything that they excel at or focus at outside of it? And what you find is outside of sports and sex, there's really nothing there. If you grabbed them by the neck and shook them, their brains would rattle around like a golf ball in a soup can. So that's basically what you would have. So that's the whole thing about it. I need you all to understand, I'm not being dissing or anything. Athletes who are thinkers, athletes who are reflective, those are rare. That's not the rule. The majority of them are really racehorses. If they weren't athletes, they'd be picking up cans by the side of the freeway somewhere. And that's really what it is. They are where they are because of a fluke of genetics. I mean, if you weren't born with genetics that made you 6'4", 6'6", that would be it. So that's the real thing. If you didn't have genetics that made you 6'2" and 400 pounds and can hit a line, then what would you be doing? You'd just be the big nigga at Home Depot, stocking shelves. That's who you'd be. And you see plenty of those too, by the way. Those are guys who they weren't able to make it athletically. And these are the few, because remember, in every league, it's only a couple of hundred at most. We're talking about first string, second string, third string. It's only a couple of hundred altogether. And of them, only the top 10% ever really make it to the big contracts and stuff like that. So the rest of them just kind of hanging in there. So it's a fluke of genetics. You didn't choose it. It was just bestowed on you. It's just luck. It's not like your family got together and had to do a bunch of work to get you to be 6'7", and that's really it. So if you didn't have these modern sports, they wouldn't even have a place to use that. They'd just be the big nigga on the plantation or the big nigga in the tribe somewhere or whatever. It would just be that, but they wouldn't be paid like this. So this is a recent advent. It really, really is. Otherwise, they would just be the big dude working next to the rest of us. You might be smaller than him. You might be fatter than them. You might be taller than them. but he would be sitting there next to the rest of you.
And the other thing, that makes a lot of sense. And speaking of flukes of genetics, this Elon Musk, I really appreciate you continually bursting this bubble that white supremacists have, this notion that he's somehow a genius. Even in his recent IPO speech, he was saying something about even he gave his success a 10% chance of working, which is, I guess, a moment of honesty. So my question to you was, he clearly needs the government. Does the government, in your estimation, need an Elon Musk, whether it's him or, somebody else, to be this conduit, almost like a Jeffrey Epstein, like you described before? Is he necessary to them?
Okay, well, understand something. These things don't happen by accident. Werner von Braun and other people were responsible for creating rockets to begin with. These other people have basically been improving on designs and things. But Elon Musk is an organizer in a corporation. So the problem is that, as 50 Cent said, your A students end up working for the C students because the A students were taught that everything's a classroom and the real world's not a classroom. Elon Musk is autistic, as we all know. He can barely finish a sentence. He's barely verbal. So this is not some brain trust sitting there. He's a D student, truth be told. However, what he understands is that most A students don't know how to acquire capital. Most A students excel at their technical ability, but they are horrific socializers. They don't know how to socialize. They don't know how to talk to people. Elon Musk, autistic as he is, he knows how to do the Steve Jobs thing. Present you with a big idea like Donald Trump does, sell you on a big eye. Oh, this is going to revolutionize everything. So even from him, as stuttering as he is, he knows how to be a salesman. Most technical people don't. I've met dozens of engineers in my life. They were smart people, but they're dry, they're boring, they're recessive, they're introverted. They hate talking to other people. You can literally just sit them at a desk for 15 hours. They won't make a peep. They won't make a peep. They won't push back. You want to know why your cars have been designed and engineered to fight against you? Because the engineers are not activists. They just want to be engineers. Just like your comic book nerds, he just wants to thumb through manga. He just wants to watch his anime. He doesn't want to be a CEO. He damn sure doesn't want to be a president. He doesn't want to be an activist. He just wants to do his thing. He never learned how to deal with people. So being able to amass capital and organize capital, he's never learned that. So he's at the mercy of the folks who do. I need you all to understand something. The most powerful skill set to have in an economic system is audacity. That's the most powerful characteristic to have. That one actually outstrips everything else. It doesn't matter if you are honest, if you are competent, if you're capable, if you're an outright liar. The audacious people are the ones who lead. It doesn't matter if there's another guy who's smarter than you. You can overwhelm him with audacity. Donald Trump is the epitome of that. Dumbest bastard in the room, but he's also the most audacious. You can say he's shameless or whatever. He's the most audacious person in the room. So when you start talking about character traits, if no one ever taught you all, yes, I've taught you all about drive. I keep hammering you about competence. But the most powerful character trait that overwhelms, that gets you leadership position, isn't intelligence. It isn't competence. The most necessary one is audacity. If you are not willing to be the biggest, boorish, belligerent advocate for yourself or your interests, you will lose to the person who is, even if they're a third of your intelligence, a fourth of your ability, and a fifth of your integrity. That means nothing if they're more audacious than you are. And most people, they don't have the feelings or the emotional stability to be audacious. They're too fearful. They're too shy. They're too bashful. It's like, oh no, to be audacious, you're saying put the spotlight on me. That's what you're saying. Most people don't want that because with the spotlight comes responsibility. And most people have not learned that when you get power, you use power and responsibility to deflect accountability, which is what these other folk do. They get power, they get responsibility, and then when you want to hold them accountable, oh, you gave me power now, so ain't no hold me accountable. We ain't doing that. That's what I want the power for. Now, back to my audacity. And that's what occurs. So when you take a look at these people, that's the most important character trait to have, and they use that. Most folk don't have it. The smart kids, the A students, the technical students, very, very few of them have that. Very few. The majority of them, they learned one thing because they were the kids and the A students in class who kept their heads down. That keeping your head down thing, they didn't realize, and you are now programming yourself to lose audacity. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be heard. Just give me my A because I'm meek. Just let me get out of here with a passing grade because I don't want my parents to think less of me. And in the process, you are losing the skill set of audacity. The class clown in the back of the classroom, say whatever you want to. He's got audacity. Say whatever you want to. He does. And he's going to be the one who ends up leading all of you when you leave this artificial contrived environment that you call a school classroom. Because the real world is not a classroom. The real world is a gang yard. The real world is an open battlefield. There is no teacher or principal who gets to set the rules in the real world and then enforces them at a micro level. You're not divided up every 30 people in the real world with one person with autocratic control to make sure you're all obeying the rules. That ain't happening. That's not the real world. The C students who never accepted that structure, they are better suited to thrive when you're no longer in an environment where there's a person in front of a classroom. That's what happens. The A students have been institutionalized and they can't function except the way they did at that desk. So after 12, or in their cases, 16 years from elementary school, from grade school to finishing college, 16 years of being put in that environment. Y'all can talk about Rockefeller and Carnegie all you want to, but 16 years of being put in that environment, they've been institutionalized. This is the only way that they can function and operate. And now they don't want to do it differently. Now we give them a job environment. Okay, we're trading your classroom desk for a cubicle. All right, get to work. And they're like, okay, I'm at home with this. And what do they want in the corporation? Sit down, shut up, keep your head down, don't make waves. Get your job done, do as you're told. Hey, you got a 401k? Oh, good, we'll help you get a house over here. Now we got you. You got a house, you got a woman, you got some kids, you got a mortgage, you got a car. Be ashamed if you got your ass fired. You got to go somewhere else and start all over again. Oh, you're a 40-year-old engineer? We can hire a 20-year-old for half you. Watch your step. Be a damn shame if you had a period of unemployment, wouldn't it? Oh, man, you moved your house to New Jersey? You moved your ass to Florida? You moved to California? Oh, the job told you to go? Well, all right. You're in Austin, Oakland, Seattle? Okay, be a shame if you lost your job, dude. Be a shame if that happened. You know we're downsizing, outsourcing, layoffs, AI. Watch your step. They go in every damn day. He's going in like, man, I don't want no trouble. He's sitting there looking at the mortgage. He's a beta simp. He's got his wife over here nagging. She wished she had slept with his cousin or the dude on the track team. She couldn't qualify for him. She's stuck with your ass. So you got to keep humping to make this work. Everything you got sitting on that. So do you understand? We're getting him more compressed, more tightened down. And the free radicals are the C students, the Elon Musks, the 50 Cents, the Donald Trumps, the Sam Altmans. You want to talk about a fellow who's specious. You want to talk about a guy running grifts all over the place. The Alex Karps, the Peter Thiels. Those are the C students, and they recognize how to talk to other people and organize capital. They're not the biggest. They understand technical stuff, don't get me wrong, but they are not the technical experts. They know enough to understand this is a line of business to go into and is relevant. Let me hire somebody else who can deal with the molecular stuff because he's not going to challenge me for leadership. That's how he hijacked Tesla from them two fellas. That's how he got SpaceX. And Yeah, these guys, they want to just make electric cars, but they're not going to challenge me for leadership. Ray Kroc and McDonald's. We can go down the list, y'all. How did he gangster that from the McDonald brothers? Yeah, they don't really want no smoke. Yeah, I didn't make this system. I forget the name of the McDonald's brother who organized the kitchen the way it was to make sure it was efficient how to make the hamburgers. Yeah, Ray Kroc never could have done that. Never. It's like, okay, once I'm gangster y'all out the way, I'm running it. That's the C student. He's found the A students. Okay, let me go ahead and get this out from y'all. And remember, ultimately, they weren't even advocates for themselves. There wasn't a big, ugly lawsuit about that. They didn't do a bunch of interviews, roasting Ray Kroc. They didn't do that. So I'm just showing you that right there. They're not advocates for themselves like that. And that's what individuals like Musk or your NBA team owners or whatever, that's what they're looking for. Most people who do the technical work are not advocates for themselves. C students are fierce advocates for themselves because they have to be, because they don't have the technical ability. So he's got to hold on to his leadership position because he doesn't actually have the technical ability to replace this expert over here he's hired. So he's organized a bunch of experts who lack leadership ability, and he gets out there and goes and organizes the capital because ain't nothing going to happen without it. And now they're all beholden to him. And the problem is we have schools that teach technical ability. Let me just hammer this through y'all's heads. The reason why the so-called experts don't have any leverage is because we have institutions that crank out technical ability all over the place. That was the whole purpose of making organized education, to create a battalion every year of people who've been trained to do technical things. We have no school that teaches you audacity. So the schools teach the technical part of it. Only the Henry Fords and their type have audacity, so they can use the technical people. There is no school. The Wharton School of Business doesn't teach you audacity. And they know that that's going to be what ultimately rules, but well, all of you are being taught technical ability. You understand business. A lot of you are audacious. Only a few of you will rule. It'll be like Lord of the Flies. Most of you in the Wharton School of Business, you're kind of audacious, but only the most audacious will rule. The rest of you will serve him because you'll have no choice. And those of you who are technical, you're going to be living in fear every day. That's where you're going to be. And ultimately, you will just dance to the tune, which is where they're at. So Tesla is a bunch of electrical engineers. Elon Musk took his money from PayPal. He had more money than them, obviously not enough, because he had to go beg the federal government for the rest of it, but he put himself in a position to do that. The engineers never did. The engineers, okay, let's go make a car. And Elon's like, okay, well, we don't have to do this from the ground up. Why don't we just go repurpose one? So they started doing that, or at least at scale, he started doing that. That was the difference.
And that makes sense too. I was curious, like obviously that, pushing audaciousness works more for the dominant society in general, but like you said, there's no school for it. So I was wondering, does their type or their expression of audaciousness, is that what's more responsible for their success, or the fact that they don't get consequences when they do put themselves out there?
No, you're misunderstanding it. Audacity protects you from that. Remember, these are not people who are afraid of consequences. Most people are afraid of rejection. Con men are not afraid of rejection. They can't afford to be. So Donald Trump, remember, he made liberal use of bankruptcy. He wasn't afraid of looking like a failure. He wasn't afraid of rejection. Take a look at him. After all those bankruptcies, president of the damn United States, and now he's bankrupting the whole damn country. What? So these people don't respond emotionally the way that most people do. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Their emotional response to pressure, to attention, to being self-conscious, it's not the same as most people. A person who's introverted, he's highly sensitive to being self-conscious. Elon Musk isn't. He's used to being laughed at. He's used to being ridiculed. He's formed scar tissue. So you see, the little nerd in the back of the classroom who hobbled down and protected himself, or his mama protected him, or the school protected him, he never gained scar tissue so that he can operate in the environment when people are scrutinizing him, criticizing him. He became ultra sensitive and has remained ultra sensitive. Elon Musk got over that. Peter Thiel got over that. Trump got over that. 50 Cent got over that. Barack Obama got over that. That's the difference. So all those other things you just described, that's the result of that. Now that they've formed that, now that they are no longer ultra sensitive, they don't get heart attacks, they give them. They don't get headaches, they dispense headaches. They don't do that. So understand their emotional response to these things is different than the average person. So the engineers and the nerds who work for them, they're still very ultra sensitive. You say something they don't like, they're going to break down in tears crying. They're very easily offended. They're very easily hobbled. They're very sensitive. The guys who work over them are not. How the hell you think they're at Epstein Island doing the most heinous things? So what I'm trying to tell you is that along with audacity comes a complete change in how you respond emotionally. These other people are emotionally, shall we say, broken, hobbled, humbled. The C students are not. That's why I told you the class clown, he grew up early with folk laughing at him. Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, Chris Rock. They grew up early with people ridiculing them, laughing at them, making fun of them. And he had to learn how to muscle through that. He had to learn how to get through that because you don't have the technical ability to get people to bow to you because you're the smarter student. You're going to have to excel at something else. And along the way, what they learned is, oh, I've got better emotional ability than you all. You all are much more emotionally sensitive and I'm not. So you see, the idea of being rejected doesn't bother me the way it does you. Case in point, the folk I just named, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor. What do comedians have to do? They have to go to comedy clubs all over the place. They get tested every damn night. Rejection is in the damn air. Bernie Mac. Rejection, they willingly go into environments where they constantly subject themselves to the possibility of being rejected. And what do most of your A students do? They spend their lives trying to get the highest test scores they can to avoid any sort of rejection. Hell, they only send in their LSAT scores and whatnot by mail. Okay, just tell me if I won. They want to minimize any possibility of rejection for that emotional onslaught. They want to be protected. The C students can't protect themselves. They got to learn to throw elbows. And in the process, they learn how to force doors open. You were told the way to get the door open was have the right test score. Donald Trump says, actually, there's more than one way to open that door. And you'll never challenge me for the other way because the other key is audacity. And you don't have that. And if somebody tried to force it on you, you would run. So you'll never challenge me for audacity. I will forever open doors you can't. Even if I try to sit you in a chair, you'll start fighting me. So sit down, shut the hell up, do what the hell you're told, and maybe I'll let you stick around. Maybe I won't. And by the way, have you noticed that Elon Musk runs his companies the same way? Donald Trump, when you join his administration, your ass is on a timer. Elon Musk runs his companies the same way. Fires folk all over the damn place. They could be Mark Zuckerberg. As soon as he got Facebook off the ground, all right, who's going overboard? I mean, folks who started with him, yep, you up next. Oh, trust me, there will be far fewer people when I'm done. All the cats who started with me, yeah, you on the list. Right, thanks for helping me start it. I'll take it from here, whether you like it or not. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? All these people who are the most audacious and yeah, you got to go. So there must be something to that. So this is how they operate. They are not as emotionally sensitive as the experts and the technical kids. So their response to accountability will be different. Accountability is a weapon. Accountability is a weapon in their hands, but it's a weapon that they are impervious to. Their whole goal is to get power so they're impervious to accountability. Because what they learned is that most people will just bow down and go with the program, even if you're screwing up. If you sound like you have conviction, if you sound like you're certain, most people will just bow down. Because the truth of the matter is that most people will not rise up to take power. So as long as he refuses to hand it to you, and puts you in a position, okay, who's going to take it from me? Well, most people won't do that. So he winds up holding it simply because most people will not go up and snatch it. And that's literally what it is.
I'll drop down with this last question. Is there anything particular about Elon Musk's particular flavor of audaciousness? I mean, obviously his success is coming from as being a massive trillionaire welfare king, but outside of that, is there anything that made him get to this spot before a Peter Thiel, before all these other characters?
No, they're part of the same mafia. The PayPal mafia is not accidental. Not at all.
True.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. I think that's a good note to end things on. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between, so click that subscribe button, that notification button. Join us each and every time we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work at blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program, live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.